Week 2 hits and everything stops, not gradually overnight. Yesterday felt normal, maybe even good. Today, nothing. Zero energy. No drive. A man stares at his morning routine, the one that felt empowering days ago, and it's just noise. Libido gone. Focus scattered. Even coffee tastes flat. This isn't a mood. It's the flatline, the phase that makes most men quit because nobody warned them it was coming. The flatline arrives quietly. 1 week into retention, maybe 2, a man wakes up and feels nothing. Not the surge of energy others promised. Not increased confidence or sharper focus. Just numbness. His libido vanishes. Motivation drops. Even simple tasks feel harder. This is the flatline, and it's one of the most misunderstood phases of the retention journey. Here's what happens. For years, chronic habits flood the brain with dopamine, the feel-good chemical that drives motivation and pleasure. The brain adapts by reducing dopamine receptors, like turning down the volume on an alarm that won't stop ringing. When the stimulation suddenly stops, those receptors stay turned down. The brain doesn't produce enough baseline dopamine to feel normal. This creates withdrawal, similar to what happens when someone quits any habit that hijacks the reward system. The symptoms show up in predictable ways. Low energy, brain fog, irritability, reduced sexual interest, even to real partners. Some men report feeling emotionally flat, like colors lose their vibrancy. These aren't signs of failure. They're signs the brain is recalibrating. Dopamine receptors need time to upregulate, to become sensitive again. The thinking brain, usually sharp and decisive, runs on reduced fuel during this adjustment. Testosterone levels may fluctuate as the hormonal system rebalances itself. A man in the flatline sits at his desk mid-morning. Coffee doesn't help. His to-do list feels overwhelming, though it's the same length as always. A coworker cracks a joke. He forces a laugh. It doesn't land. He opens a project he usually enjoys. The screen blurs. His mind wanders, but not toward anything interesting, just static. By afternoon, he's exhausted despite doing little. He checks his phone for dopamine hits, scrolls aimlessly. Even that feels empty. The day ends with him questioning if retention is worth it. The timeline varies, but patterns emerge. The early flatline typically hits between days 7 and 14. Some men skip it entirely if their baseline habits were moderate. For others, it arrives like clockwork. The peak usually occurs during weeks 2 through 4. This is when symptoms feel most intense, when doubt creeps in hardest. Resolution begins anywhere from week 4 to week 12, depending on the individual. Factors matter: how long the habit lasted, how intense the use was, stress levels, sleep quality, overall health. A man who spent a decade on daily habits will likely face a longer flatline than someone with occasional use. Here's what it's not. It's not permanent. It's not a sign the body is broken or that retention doesn't work. Time and again, we see brain chemistry normalize with sustained abstinence. The brain's reward center undergoes changes during recovery. Old pathways weaken. New ones strengthen. The flatline is the uncomfortable middle, the space between overstimulation and balance. Some men panic and relapse, thinking they've lost their sexuality forever. They haven't. The system is resetting. Others assume the flatline should last exactly X days and feel discouraged when their experience differs. Biology doesn't follow rigid schedules. Individual differences in symptom onset and duration are well documented. The flatline tests patience. but understanding the mechanism reduces fear. The brain isn't failing, it's adapting, and adaptation takes time. The next question becomes practical. How does a man navigate this phase without giving up? What strategies help the brain heal faster and make the symptoms more bearable? That's where recovery tactics come in. The flatline doesn't have to be endured passively. While the brain recalibrates on its own timeline, specific strategies accelerate recovery and ease the discomfort. These aren't shortcuts. They're tools that support the changes already underway, giving the reward system what it needs to heal faster. Exercise stands at the top. Movement triggers natural dopamine release without the overstimulation that caused the problem. Resistance training or cardio, done consistently, upregulates dopamine receptors. The brain learns to respond to healthy stimuli again. What we see is exercise protects brain pathways and rewires systems damaged by addiction. A man doesn't need to train like an athlete. 30 minutes, 4 times a week, creates measurable changes. The body heats up, breathing deepens, energy flows where it was stagnant. Week 2 of the flatline hits hard. A man drags himself to the gym despite zero motivation. The first set feels mechanical. No rush, no clarity, just movement. He finishes anyway. 20 minutes in, something shifts. Not euphoria, but a slight lift in the fog. His thinking sharpens just a degree. The weight of the day feels lighter. He drives home and notices he's humming. It's small, barely noticeable, but it's the first crack in the numbness. He marks the calendar. Tomorrow, he'll go again. Meditation works differently, but targets the same system. Mindfulness practices reduce the stress alarm and improve connectivity between regions controlling impulse and emotion. When a man sits quietly, even for 10 minutes, the thinking brain strengthens. The urge to seek dopamine hits through scrolling or other distractions weakens. Experience shows meditation increases brain thickness in areas tied to self-regulation. The practice doesn't eliminate cravings. It creates space between craving and action. Nutrition supports the chemical foundation. The brain needs specific building blocks to produce dopamine, tyrosine from protein, omega-3 fatty acids, and B vitamins. Processed foods and sugar create blood sugar crashes that mimic flatline symptoms. Clean protein, healthy fats, vegetables, and whole grains stabilize energy. Hydration matters too. Even mild dehydration impairs focus and mood. A man eating well won't skip the flatline, but he'll experience less severe dips. Cold exposure, whether showers or plunges, activates the body's stress response in a controlled way. The shock triggers adrenaline and dopamine spikes, giving temporary relief without relapse. It's uncomfortable by design. That discomfort builds resilience, teaching the nervous system to handle hard things. A man steps into cold water. His breath catches. His skin burns. He stays 30 seconds, a minute. When he steps out, blood rushes back. His mind clears. The effect lasts hours. Month 3 arrives. A man wakes up and realizes something shifted overnight. His energy isn't just stable, it's building. He makes coffee with purpose, not autopilot. At work, a challenging project doesn't trigger procrastination. He dives in. Ideas connect faster. That evening, he catches himself laughing genuinely at a friend's joke, not forcing it. His libido returns, but different, not frantic. Grounded, he checks his journal. 82 days since he started. The flatline didn't announce its exit. It just faded, like morning fog burning off. Consistency matters more than intensity. A man pushing too hard, expecting immediate results, often burns out and relapses. Recovery happens in layers. Some days feel better, others worse. That's normal. Tracking progress, whether through journaling or simple check-ins, reveals patterns invisible day to day. When symptoms persist beyond 12 weeks or worsen significantly, professional help becomes essential. Therapists specializing in behavioral addiction provide support tailored to individual brain chemistry. There's no shame in seeking guidance. The Flatline tests everyone differently. The discomfort is temporary. The brain's reward system is rebuilding sensitivity. Every day of persistence brings a man closer to baseline, then beyond it. The strategies don't eliminate the process. They make it bearable and ultimately transformative. Understanding the Flatline removes the fear. Targeted tactics speed recovery and ease the struggle. This week, pick one strategy and commit. Exercise 4 times, meditate 10 minutes daily, or take cold showers each morning. Track how you feel after 7 days, energy shifts, clarity moments, motivation returning. Drop your Flatline experience in the comments. Hit like if this cleared up confusion. Subscribe for weekly retention strategies that actually work. Your brain rebuilds stronger when you support the process, not just endure it.